I've always believed that true character is revealed in how people treat those they think can't benefit them. My name is Emma Miller, and life taught me just how true that belief is. My parents instilled in me the values of hard work and humility. My father was a janitor at a prestigious tech company, and my mother cleaned houses for the wealthy. They sacrificed so much to ensure I had an education, often going without so I could have what I needed. Emma, sweetheart, my mother would say, her hands rough from years of scrubbing. Knowledge is the one thing no one can take from you. I carried those words with me through college, where I studied finance and computer science. By day, I attended classes. By night, I cleaned offices just like my father. But I had a secret. I was developing a financial algorithm that could predict market trends with astonishing accuracy. During my final year, while others partied, I perfected my program. Then, on an otherwise ordinary Tuesday, everything changed. A major investment firm discovered my work and offered me $75 million for it, plus a seat on their board. I accepted the deal but kept my wealth private, continuing to live simply while making strategic investments. And then, I met James. He quite literally ran into me at a cafe, sending hot coffee splashing across the table, narrowly missing my laptop. "Oh God, I'm so sorry," he blurted out, grabbing napkins in a panic. His genuine distress made me laugh. "It's okay," I assured him, helping to clean up. "I'm Emma." "James, please, let me buy you another coffee, it's the least I can do." That coffee led to dinner, and dinner led to something more. James was kind, funny, and refreshingly down-to-earth. A high school teacher, he was passionate about shaping young minds. 6 months later, when he proposed, I said yes, without hesitation. Then, I met his family. Patricia, my soon-to-be mother-in-law, lived in a sprawling mansion, cushioned by a generous inheritance. From the moment we met, she made it clear I wasn't what she had envisioned for her son. A cleaner's daughter, she mused over her wine glass. How quaint. "James, darling, didn't you used to date that lovely doctor's daughter, Caroline?" "Mom," James warned, but the damage was done. At every gathering, Patricia found subtle ways to remind me of my place. She'd ask me to help the catering staff, claiming I'd feel more comfortable in the kitchen. When James defended me, she'd chuckle and insist she was only making me feel at home. Her daughter, Amanda, was just as condescending, a successful real estate agent. She never missed a chance to flaunt her status or remind me of my humble roots. "Emma, dear," she'd say with a syrupy smile, "I have clients looking for a good cleaning service. Should I give them your mother's number?" I took it all in stride, not just because I knew the truth about my wealth, but because I wanted to see their true colors. James would squeeze my hand under the table, whispering apologies but never truly standing up to them. What they didn't know was that I had plans of my own. Over the years, I had been quietly buying properties, including several in Patricia's exclusive neighborhood. One of them, a $12 million mansion right next door, had just been fully furnished to my specifications. The annual family reunion was approaching, a lavish 3-day event where relatives gathered at Patricia's estate. This year, however, would be different. "James, honey," Patricia announced over dinner a week before the reunion, "I've arranged the guest rooms. You'll stay in your old room. Of course, Emma can use the basement. We need the good rooms for family who actually contribute to our gatherings." James shifted uncomfortably. "Mom, Emma is my wife. And as my daughter-in-law, she should be grateful for whatever accommodation she receives." Patricia cut in smoothly. "Besides, given her background, I'm sure she's used to much worse." I simply smiled. "The basement will be fine, Patricia. If only she knew what was coming." By Friday, the house was packed with guests. I played the part of the dutiful daughter-in-law, carrying luggage, serving drinks, enduring the usual remarks. That evening, I took my small suitcase to the basement, where a narrow cot sat in the corner. As I sat down, I heard voices drifting through the vents. Patricia's laughter was unmistakable. "Can you believe she actually took the basement without complaint? I told James he should have married Caroline, at least she knows how to carry herself in proper society." More laughter followed. I glanced at my phone. One new message from my property manager. "Everything is ready for tomorrow's inspection, Mrs. Miller. The mansion next door has been fully furnished according to your specifications." I smiled in the darkness. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting. I woke early, my back aching from the basement cot, and made my way upstairs. The kitchen was already alive with movement. Patricia stood in the center, directing the catering staff with the authority of a queen commanding her court. "Oh, Emma, good," she said without looking up. "Since you're awake, make yourself useful and help Maria with the dishes. And do try to stay out of sight when the guests arrive, we have some very important people coming today." I caught James's eye as he entered the kitchen. He looked pained but said nothing, reaching for his coffee. The familiar sting of his silence made me square my shoulders. Just a few more hours. "Actually," I said, checking my watch, "I have an appointment this morning." Patricia's head snapped up. "An appointment? During our family reunion? How incredibly rude." "Now, Mom," James began, but Amanda breezed in, cutting him off. "Mother, the Hendersons just arrived, you know, the ones who bought that gorgeous mansion next door," she said, throwing me a smirk. "They're my biggest clients this year. That sale alone was worth millions in commission." Patricia beamed. "Wonderful, Emma. Before you run off to whatever little errand you have planned, at least be useful and help serve the mimosas." I smiled. "I really must go. My real estate agent is waiting." Amanda scoffed. "Real estate agent? What? Are you looking at studio apartments in the bad part of town?" Before I could reply, the doorbell rang. Patricia smoothed her dress and hurried to answer it. I followed the group into the grand foyer, where a poised woman in a sharp suit stood waiting. "Good morning, Mrs. Miller," she said, smiling directly at me. "The mansion is ready for your final inspection." The room went silent. Patricia's carefully composed expression wavered. "There must be some mistake," she said with a forced laugh. "Emma isn't Emma Miller," I confirmed, stepping forward, "owner of the mansion next door." Amanda's mimosa glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. "That's impossible," she stammered. "I handled that sale through my shell corporation." "Yes," I said pleasantly. "I believe your commission check was quite substantial." James stared at me, his coffee cup frozen halfway to his lips. "Emma, what is going on? Perhaps we should all sit down," I suggested, gesturing toward the living room. "I have quite a story to tell." Patricia and Amanda perched on the edge of their seats, their tension palpable. The rest of the family lingered nearby, sensing something seismic was about to unfold. 7 years ago, I began evenly. I developed a financial algorithm that sold for $75 million. Since then, my investments have multiplied many times over. The mansion next door is just one of many properties I own. Patricia's face contorted. "But you let us think that I was a cleaner's daughter who married above her station?" I finished for her. "Yes, I did. And in doing so, I saw exactly who you are when you believe someone is beneath you." "This is absurd." Amanda shot to her feet, her face flushed. "Mother, she's lying." The real estate agent cleared her throat. "I can assure you, Mrs. Henderson, that Mrs. Miller's credentials are impeccable. In fact, she owns a controlling interest in the development company that built this entire neighborhood." Patricia blanched. "The entire neighborhood," she whispered. "Including this house," I added. "I bought it last month when it was still under your late husband's estate. The paperwork finalized yesterday." A heavy silence followed. James had sunk into his chair, his expression a mix of shock and realization. "You mean?" Patricia's voice trembled. "This isn't my house anymore?" "It's mine," I said simply, "just like the basement where you made me sleep last night." Amanda whirled toward me. "Mother, she can't do this. We'll fight it in court." "You're welcome to try," I replied coolly. "My lawyers have ensured everything is perfectly legal, but right now, I'd like you both to leave my house." "Leave?" Patricia gasped. "But, where will I go? This is my home." "Was your home," I corrected. "Don't worry. I've arranged accommodations for you. There's a modest apartment available in the building where my parents once worked as janitors. I hear the basement unit is particularly cozy." Murmurs spread through the gathering. Some guests looked shocked. Others struggled to hide their satisfaction at Patricia's comeuppance. James finally spoke. "Emma, why didn't you tell me?" I turned to my husband. "Would it have made a difference? Would you have stood up to your mother's treatment of me if you'd known I was wealthy? Because if money is what it takes to earn basic respect in this family, then we have bigger problems than where I sleep." The real estate agent shifted politely. "Mrs. Miller, Shall we proceed with the inspection of your new property? I didn't hesitate. Yes. And with that, I walked away, leaving them to sit in the ruins of their arrogance. I stood, locking eyes with Patricia as the weight of the moment settled in. I'll have my staff help you pack, I said coldly. You have until tomorrow evening to vacate the premises. As I turned to leave, Patricia's voice cut through the silence, suddenly sweet and pleading. Emma, dear, surely we can discuss this. We're family, after all. I paused at the door, then slowly turned back to face her. Family? I repeated, my voice steady but laced with venom. Let's talk about family, Patricia. Last Christmas, you seated me at the children's table and told everyone it was because I wouldn't know how to behave at the adults' dinner. Last month, you conveniently forgot to invite me to James's birthday. And just yesterday, you made me sleep in a basement because, in your words, I wasn't good enough for a real room. I didn't mean, she stammered. Yes, you did, I interjected, my voice firm. You meant every slight, every insult, every attempt to humiliate me. You showed me exactly who you are, Patricia. Now, I'm showing you exactly who I am. The sound of my heels clicking against the marble echoed through the silence as I walked out, my head held high. Behind me, I heard Patricia sobbing, Amanda protesting angrily, but I didn't look back. A new beginning. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of emotions and legal battles. Patricia and Amanda moved out as required, though not without drama. They hired lawyers, of course, but as my legal team had predicted, every transaction was airtight. I moved into the mansion next door, leaving James to decide his own path. The distance allowed me time to reflect on our marriage, to consider what it meant to build a life with someone who had never stood up for me. Then, about a month after the revelation, I received an unexpected visitor. James stood at my front door, looking more disheveled than I'd ever seen him. Can we talk? He asked quietly. I led him to my home office, a warm, inviting space filled with family photos. One of them was of my parents on their 30th anniversary. James's eyes lingered on it as he sat down. I've been doing a lot of thinking, he began, his voice soft, about everything, about us. I've also been seeing a therapist. I waited, letting him gather his thoughts. I failed you, Emma, not just at the reunion, but every time I let my mother treat you like you were beneath us. I told myself I was keeping the peace, but really, I was just being a coward. Yes, you were, I agreed, my voice barely above a whisper. He winced but continued. The thing is, I kept wondering why you didn't tell me about your success. Then I remembered last Thanksgiving, when Mom made that comment about your father being just a janitor, and I laughed. His voice cracked. I actually laughed. Tears welled in his eyes. That's when you were going to tell me, wasn't it? I nodded. I had the papers in my bag, but when I saw you laugh at your own father-in-law, I realized you were just like them. I was, he admitted, his voice thick with shame, and that shame is mine to carry. But, Emma, I want you to know what's happened since you left. He straightened in his chair, his expression now one of resolve. I resigned from my teaching position at Brighton Prep. This caught me off guard. James had been a fixture at the prestigious private school for years. I took a job at Riverside High School instead. He continued. It's in the neighborhood where you grew up. The kids there, they remind me of you. Brilliant, determined. They just need someone to believe in them. And your mother? I haven't spoken to her since she moved out. She and Amanda have been trying to rally the family against you, but it backfired. Cousin Sarah came forward about how Mom treated her when she married beneath her station. Then Uncle Robert shared stories about her behavior toward his second wife. It's like, your courage gave others permission to speak their truth. I absorbed this, watching him closely. He seemed different, more grounded, more present. There's more, he said. I've been volunteering at the community center where your mom used to work. Did you know they have a program teaching financial literacy to cleaning staff and janitors? I'm helping them expand it. I studied him carefully. Why are you telling me all this, James? Because I want to earn back your respect, he said simply. Not because you're wealthy, but because you're the same amazing woman who helped me grade papers until midnight and made soup when I was sick. I was too weak to deserve you before. I want to become someone who does. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a new message. Your mother's at the apartment building. I told James. She's demanding to speak with me. You don't have to go. he said quickly. Actually, I think I do. A lesson in humility. I found Patricia in the basement apartment where she now lived. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Her designer clothes looked out of place against the cold, concrete walls. Hello, Patricia. She turned, and I was struck by how different she looked. The confident, polished woman I had once known was gone, replaced by someone raw and vulnerable. Emma, she said, her voice faltering. She stopped, clearly struggling for words. Finally, she whispered, I understand now. Understand what? What it feels like to be judged by where you live, to have people look down on you. Her hands trembled. Yesterday, I couldn't get a restaurant reservation because of my new address. I've been going there for 20 years. Feels awful, doesn't it? I replied, my voice steady. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. I've been horrible, not just to you, but to so many people. Living here, being treated the way I treated others, it's opened my eyes. That was the point, I said quietly. She looked up sharply. You mean this wasn't just revenge? Revenge would have been making you homeless, I said. This was about education. Patricia sank onto the small sofa. I've lost everything. My home, my social standing, my son. You haven't lost James, I corrected. He's choosing to be his own man for the first time. Whether you lose him permanently depends on whether you can accept that change. And you? She asked hesitantly. Have I lost you as a daughter-in-law? I studied her carefully. That depends on you too, Patricia. Real change takes more than a few weeks of humility. Will you help me? She asked softly. I don't mean financially. I mean, help me learn to be better. For the first time, I heard genuine vulnerability in her voice. A year later, 6 months later, I hosted a dinner party. Patricia was there, wearing a simple dress instead of her usual designer labels. She helped in the kitchen, not because anyone asked her to, but because she wanted to. Amanda came too, having recently started volunteering at a women's shelter, a requirement I had added to her lease when she asked to rent one of my properties. James and I were still working on our marriage, taking it day by day. He had proven his commitment to change, not through grand gestures, but through consistent actions and unwavering support. During dessert, Patricia turned to me. Emma, she said, her voice laced with both sorrow and gratitude. I wanted to thank you. For what? For teaching me that true worth isn't about where you live or what you own. It's about how you treat people. She smiled, though there was a sadness behind her eyes. I just wish I'd learned that lesson sooner. Later that night, James and I stood on our balcony, gazing out over the neighborhood. Do you regret any of it? He asked softly. I thought about the past year, the pain, the growth, the transformations. No, I said, finally. Sometimes people need to lose everything to understand what really matters. He took my hand, and we stood in silence, watching the stars.